Hi, everybody, and welcome to another session, baby. Conversations with Geoff. Boy, we got a treat for you. So I don't care what's going on around you. Call your friends, your cousins, your sisters, everybody, and have them stay tuned for our next upcoming speaker because this man is phenomenal. All right, so that's one thing. And those of you that are new to our community, welcome. Only a couple rules we ask, and that is you come in here, you let us know who you are, let us know how we can help you if there's something on your mind. And our focus is around three main categories: relationships, health, and wealth. And there's all types of things in each one of those categories. And our goal is, and our mission is for you to become aware of that stinking thinking. People say, Geoff, don't say that. Hey, I don't say that. Stinking thinking that we all can get trapped into, right? What do I mean by that? Well, that stuff that says from years ago that, hey, who do you think you can be? Why do you think you can run a business? Why do you think you deserve to be happy? Why do you think you deserve to be married? You all know what I mean. I'm not the only one that has those messages, right? And be aware of it, number one, and then go through the transformation. Put the effort in. Hear me when I say put the effort in that action so that you too can experience the success of some of this that my guest is going to share with you and things that you've been wanting to do. So I tell you, I encourage you, hang in there with us. Make sure you do these following things. Number one is pay attention to your thoughts, your words, the words that are coming out of your mouth, and that constant run that's in your head, right? And it's either going to do a couple of things. It's either going to give you some energy or take away the energy. It's either going to raise your attitude or it's going to take away your attitude. It's going to either build your community, right, or divide your community. We're already living in a world of divisiveness, and we are not here to support any of that as much as just be an open community to people that want to come in here and figure out how we all can come together and make a difference. All right, so that's your assignment. Those are those to pay attention to your thoughts and words. And then lastly with that, give yourself a break, because I know those of you out there are trying to make a difference. So give yourself a break when you fall into that rut again. Just remember, it took a long time to get in the rut, but each day, little by little, a year from now, if you really focus on it, you'll be a lot further away from where you started. All right, so that's the homework. I got a little lesson for you at the end, so don't go away. Thank you for coming here. Subscribe, share this, tag your friends. I'm still warning you, go get them, because when we bring my friend down here, it's going to be awesome. You don't want to miss it. So let me just give you a quick background, highlight some of the things. He is the CEO of Life is Rich, which is a great, he'll talk about that business, and he's a trusted advisor, speaker, author, coach, mentor, man of God, husband and father, all those variables that he does at the highest level. He's a military man, West Point grad, Army infantry, an officer and a ranger, so the man is bad, all right? He's not only smart, but he's bad too. I like men that are bad, right? Help me out. So go ahead, brother. But he says something before I bring him on. What his whole mission is about how to teaching people how to think versus what to think. So I want you to listen to him as I bring him on the stage right now. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome to Conversations with Geoff, Mr. Nate Scott. All right.
Geoff.
Hey. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, my brother. I'm doing well. So great to see you, and thank you for having me on.
Yeah. Well, we feel honored because I know you. Everywhere I look on social media, I see you. So we really appreciate you giving us a few minutes of your time, man. So what's happening? How's things right now? Talk about life a little bit, man. What's going on with you?
Man, life is really, really great. I feel very excited about this day, which is the 80th month anniversary for my wife and I, Andrew and I. We're celebrate our monthly wedding anniversary. We're moving up to month number 84, which is year 7.
Year 7.
That's a pivotal moment right there. So we're excited to have the opportunity to celebrate life and love, and excited about things in which God has in store for us as we approach year 7 of marriage.
Yeah, I saw that, man. I gave you a big shout out. First, I saw 80. I said, "No, I know it's not 80. What's he talking about?" But it's 80 months. And y'all a beautiful couple. I haven't met your wife yet, but I see how you two just work together. I mean, every time I see you, I feel the energy and the smile. So congratulations. And you're a lucky guy too, man. So
Absolutely. Well, God is favorable, man. He never forsakes us, and I think He's taken me some valleys to test me to ensure that I was prepared to handle the treasure.
yes.
And He truly did bless me with an amazing support.
Man, I love that. And part of our show is about relationships, and you talked about the valley, so you kind of opened up the door, man. So maybe there's some things in the next couple of minutes we could talk about the fellas that are looking to have 7 years and 80 months and be proud and happy. What if you go back? I'll talk about me first. I know that I'm not the guy I am today. I wasn't the guy when I first met my wife, or even before then. Right, I had some valleys and stuff to go through too. Can you kind of talk about something that people out here that can hear, can take away, so they can too be as happy as you are in a relationship?
Absolutely. I will tell you that the defining moment for me really was at 19 when I walked perimeter during Operation Desert Storm, when I said, Lord, if you allow me to make it back, I'll never waste a day of my life. Wow. Because it was in that moment that I realized the importance of guidance, instruction, and preparation. And in that moment when I was feeling some fear and trepidation, I was still in a state where I was able to say, Lord, if you allow me to make it back, I'll never waste a day of my life. And that's where my anchor is. And because of that vow, it really set the direction in which my life has continued to move upon. That was a track that I was running on because of the vow that I took at that point in time. And so I always said that whenever I had a relationship, that I would make a point of not staying in the military. You see, I was career by day. When I got back from serving in Operation Desert Storm, I went on to West Point, then graduated from West Point with degrees in engineering and sociology. I branched infantry, ranger, because I was career by day. Yeah. I was going to go and follow the path that would put me in the best position to become a general officer, to lead at the highest level. But I knew, because of my experience as a teenager, as a result of the adults around me, that I didn't want to be in a situation where my mind was split, where I was looking at my job and then those people that cared about me, because I'd experienced what that looked like and felt like. Yeah. And so when I went to my assignment in Korea, I got into a relationship, and that began my transition. And I got married. I married someone that I thought was going to be my forever, my soulmate. Yeah. But lo and behold, Geoff, one day she came in and she said that she was miserable and needed to find herself. You see, at that time, she was working on her PhD. We were living apart. Mm-hmm. I made my transition from the military thinking, okay, finally, we're going to be together. But she made a choice. She made a decision that wasn't what she wanted. And though I tried to hold on, tears running down my eyes as I'm looking out over my sink, I can see it so clear as day. I realized in that moment that I really did have the capacity to truly love, because I was truly hurt. Yeah. But it was in that valley that I really threw myself, though, into my business endeavors, and I had my greatest success in that valley moment. Yeah. Such that when I did go through that divorce and that painful experience, it's that experience that really set me up for the man I am today and the relationship that I have today, because I truly can share with everyone that when you are clear about that which you desire, and you work intentionally about bringing that about, and you do it by focusing on being your very best, then the opportunity for love the right way comes about. Yeah. And I've got a beautiful, beautiful story about that, but I'll pause right there to see if anything that I just now shared with you about that heartbreak and how that heartbreak was the preface for what I now experience as true love and joy. Oh man, you dropped about. I stopped writing because I couldn't write down all of those nuggets that you spoke about in there, because I too, everybody's had their heart broken, whether they admit it or not. Number one, and devastation around that. I'm assuming it came as a surprise. And on top of that, and then you're coming back, you made a decision going all the way back
I felt you on the wall when you said, "I'll never waste another day in my life." Right? I mean, to imagine being there, it doesn't. I can't even. I can try, but it's just. I know if I was there, I'd be. I'm not gonna say it on the air, but I would be. I'd have some concern. Right, about my safety and all that. And but you talked about that, man, coming back, and then from that point, getting into the relationship. So, what for people that may be in that space now? What can you tell them that their heart is broken, that you haven't already said, that they may be able to use, male or female, just in simple form?
Yeah, the bottom line is that you got to really look at where your anchored belief is at.
Mm.
You see, because what happens is in those moments, you got people that are your loved ones that will in turn try to comfort you by maybe asking questions or trying to assess what took place and maybe make some projections about the other person. You don't want that. You don't want to be in a state where you are tossing out all those memories that you do have that you looked at as being real. Because it would have been very easy for me in that moment to disregard the love and that I felt when I felt it.
Yeah.
You see, the reality is that we go through changes.
Right.
And if we allow our mind to play tricks on us, it can cause us to second guess what we perceive to be as real. And I would say that it was real when it was real.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you got to have the right mindset. And so that's the first thing is you got to check your mental state. The other thing, as I said before, about your anchored belief. You see, my anchored belief is in God's word. And because of that, those dark places that I could have very easily gone into, I didn't get into because I knew the power of prayer.
Yeah.
I knew the power of worship.
Yeah.
And I stayed close in that regard because I knew in those moments how it would be that someone could feel really hurt and in turn would look to hurt someone else.
Mm.
You see, heartbreak is very, very real. And you can never say I would never because you don't really know what you actually will experience when you actually get in that moment.
Yeah.
And I thank God for those opportunities to reflect and that he's always given me the ability to have a pause button, which is really the heart of why I excel as a coach is because I teach people how to think versus what to think. It's about being able to that pause button to be able to see clearly and to be able to recognize how I'm thinking and how I'm feeling because thoughts lead to feelings, which lead to actions, which lead to results.
That's right.
Thoughts lead to feelings, which lead to actions, which lead to results. And so that's the second thing that I'll tell you is to be cognizant about what you're really thinking about and not allow your feelings to cause you to quote unquote to think because it's out of order.
Yeah.
And then lastly, and most importantly, it's so important to have a support network, to have just some solid people around you that just will be there for you and not try to tear down, but more importantly, try to build up.
Yeah. Well, man, that's a whole nother lesson there too. I'm gonna have to get another book. and here's I'm thinking about you talking about being able to honor your feelings and be aware of your feelings, and then you being a Christian and God being a point of reference for you. We hear it all the time, but I felt this morning we were talking about turning over the things that are painful and worry and placing them at his feet, and then stepping into what we've asked for from bold prayer and what our gifts are from him. So I can connect with that, and I'm sure the audience can too, man. You talked about in that whole thing about God, the mindset and the mental pieces and pausing. How do you get people that are like, because pausing is not easy. It may be for you, but I know for me, learning how to step back and not react. Learn how to respond appropriately and not react. That pause piece, can you talk a little bit more about how people can get closer to that?
Well, I'll tell you where it began for me, and I'll tell you a few things I do to help people to get to that particular outcome. Because what I specialize in is educating, equipping, and empowering professionals to move from disruption to freedom, so that they can live in fullness every day. And when I think about the origin of my ability to make sound decisions, I think back to playing quarterback in football. I think back to playing point guard in basketball. And I think about the experience of really seeing the field open up or seeing the court open up. My favorite player was Magic Johnson, and so
Yeah.
playing point guard. And so
Magic.
that's right. So when I communicate this, I talk about it in that perspective. And so the way I bring about the shift in people is through repetition and through asking, does that make sense? Or what did you think about that? Or I may complete something and I'll say, tell me, what did you get of value? And it's through that type of interaction and engagement, I'm causing people to actually start to really think about.
Yeah.
And it's through repetition. And generally through my 90-day coaching program, I'm able to bring someone from one state to another, and they can actually see immediate impact in any and every aspect of their life, because there's nothing more important than your thoughts.
Yeah. Oh man. Everything begins with a thought. And as you mentioned, it's going to reflect on your actions and your emotions and your feelings. So that's really important. And I like the idea about repetition and really asking, does that make sense? And to me, that kind of provokes the conversation, right? I mean, you get them to take it. It's a disrupting. Most of us don't make decisions in life. I'm guilty of it. I know that making decisions are a conscious effort at times. And so, man, so you're taking professionals. What line of work in the professional field? Does it matter? Okay.
No, it doesn't matter, Geoff, because what they get me when they hire me is that they're getting a former enlisted soldier, combat veteran, West Point graduate, infantry officer, ranger, former CFO of an Inc. 500 fast growing company, former licensed advisor, 766 Lafayette Burr Annuity Mortgage Real Estate, someone that's owned a 40-unit apartment complex, that's owned a franchise. That's what is actually being borrowed, and they're investing in themselves through me to bring about that movement from disruption to freedom. They're literally just getting a GPS system to help them to move from point A to point B with the best route, in spite of the accidents along the way.
Accidents, blindsided, left on the end of the road, maybe not there. Yeah, I really love that. And when I hear you talk about, it's funny that you talk about investing in yourself a little bit. I made a message yesterday about people being comfortable making the investment in themselves and realizing that that alone can help change their life. What do you do with people that are like, yeah, I can't afford it, or I'll do it later, or have all these reasons? Because I know there's folks out here that are needing some direction and looking for some direction. What do you tell those folks that they haven't already heard?
Yeah. Well, what I do is I know that it really boils down to three different areas. It's going to be a money issue, a time issue, or self-doubt.
Yeah.
And I understand that. And so what I oftentimes do, because I really focus on kingdom-minded people, is that I reference 2 Kings chapter 4, 1-7. And in that particular story within the Bible, what you have the widow and Elijah, where the widow has spoken to Elijah about her situation. She was a widow. And in turn, as a widow, she had debtors coming for her because now she was left kind of desolate.
Yeah.
And so she went to him and asked for help. And he essentially said, well, what do you have? And she said nothing. But in turn, he really said, no, you do have something. She said, well, I have these vases of oil here.
Yes.
And he gave her instructions. And that correlates with me saying that you are the asset. I talk about that in Life is Rich, How to Create Lasting Wealth, which is kind of my signature program. And from there, she was open and receptive to the instructions in which she received from him.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave her instructions that she willingly followed without any resistance, because she actually believed that he could actually help her. So there was trust. See, I think many times what will happen is that people will falter in making a decision to do something that's in their best interest is because of lack of trust.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that they don't trust the individual. It's truly about their ability to trust themselves, because so many times people have fallen short. They have not followed through. They've begun something and stopped.
Yeah.
And so therefore, when something is brought to them, they haven't developed the acumen to be able to make sound decisions, even though it's laid out plainly. Yeah. And so I look to have compassion with people, share it, and lead them through that process, which is in fact my ability to demonstrate how effective coaching could be by giving some sampling of it.
Yeah.
And then really laying out a game plan with instructions of how they can overcome the problem, because the worst thing to do is to give the handout. It's about being able to educate, equip, and empower people and help them to see themselves beyond their situation, and then help them to solve the problem. And truly, for the believer, and if they buy into the message of life is rich, which means I live in fullness every day because I realize I'm Christ's heir, then all I'm simply doing is pointing them back to God's word, anchored on Matthew 6:33, which says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, which is instructions. And then there's the promise that all things thereafter shall be added unto you. That means spiritually, mentally, emotionally, relationally, physically, and financially. And if I can get the head nod in agreement with that, then I say, well, hey, you already got to know that it's already done. Right. And because it's already done, here's what the responsibility is. As a believer, your responsibility is that you got to grow your capacity. And that means you got to now be willing to invest in yourself so that you can in turn get the value increase, so that you can then go forth and be the light, because that's what God has charged us to be. We're for his purposes. And so I just look to encourage people to make that shift, hold their hand through that. And my word is simply this: if you lend me your ear, I'll give you my heart.
Yeah, I love that. And that was so powerful finish there. So when you talk about people that are, what about those, Nate, that are not clear about where they stand with Christianity, but they want to do better, and they feel your heart, that you've got their ear, or however you just said that, and then you're giving them the heart. Because I don't believe I believe your message needs to be shared across the board. So those that listen and are hearing that, maybe disqualifying themselves because they're not in the gospel. What do you say to those folks? Because they need to get with you as well. What do you say to those?
Well, Geoff, you never heard me mention Christian. Right. See, that's the first part.
There you go.
I'm not speaking of, and I don't go by the label of Christian. And the reason I don't is because I've seen in history through and through how a body can consider themselves to be Christian and in turn act in a particular way that does not line up with the Bible that I read, God's word. Right. So I say kingdom, and I'm a kingdom-minded entrepreneur. And as a kingdom-minded entrepreneur, still yet, I'm not beating anyone over the head with the Bible. The importance of me communicating my message is that I'm able to say, hey, if you want that what you see in me that you desire, I've got to tell you the full story. Right. And the story is anchored in this pivotal life moment, which I'm sure you may have a pivotal life moment. So here's mine. Yeah. And so my story is, in that moment of combat, in the pitch darkness of night, I said, Lord, if you allow me to make it back, I'll never waste a day of my life. So the lesson in that is really about taking a vow and actually being a person of integrity and giving the word and actually following through. And I've found that everybody can relate to that when I'm actually communicating. So I don't discriminate based upon any particular faith, because religion is what separates people. I'm about whether or not can we touch and agree on a higher power, and whatever you may call that higher power doesn't matter to me. But I will say that we've got to have some basis. And my basis is spiritual, mental, emotional, then relational. And when you got that core together, then physical and financial will be manifested. And that's how I bring about creating Life is Rich.
Yeah, that's beautiful, because in that, what I hear and envision is that your grace, your desire to serve, and that's what comes from the heart, is what they get, right? And so, man, that was beautiful. I really like that. And I said Christian because I know people hear God and the Bible verses and they close down and run away, right? And I don't want them to do that, because you really, I like the kingdom-minded perspective, and I'm personally just finding my way around all of that. So I'm also spiritual. I can identify with that and the principles around that and understand the power and service. So thank you for sharing that. Boy, hey, listen, time is flying. I love this. I appreciate you talking about the peaks and the valleys in the relationship side, man, and then how you spun things around and giving people, man, I can feel every time you talk about, I will never waste another day. People say that, but has it been that way for you? I mean, all the time? What do you wake up every day remembering that, or do you have to remind yourself sometimes about what you made a commitment to when you were 19?
No, I don't have to remind myself. The reality is then that was cemented in kind of the character of who I am, and I've always shown myself to be.
Yeah.
1,440 minutes per day is something very intentional for me. So each and every day, I'm thinking about the fact that that's it. There's 1,440 minutes per day. When you subtract out the time for working, for sleeping, for commuting, and the time it takes you to do what you have to do each and every day of your life, most people are left with just 1 to 2 hours remaining to do what they really want to do. But then the question is, do we have the money to do it? And so I've committed myself to bringing that type of awareness and that intensity, which oftentimes can keep people at a distance because it's a standard.
Yeah.
The standard that can make that is not oftentimes seen, but it's the natural for the highest level performers. And so to that end, there's just nothing more important to me than recognizing that I know that life isn't promised. And because of that, I don't take it for granted. Yeah. And so it's about living with no regrets, being unapologetic, and knowing that each and every day I can go to bed knowing that I truly did come from the heart. And for those that get close enough to me, they get the true benefit. But I'm also mindful of it's not for everyone, and I'm not for everyone. I've been set aside for a particular purpose, and I walk in that recognizing that that there's a lot of good that's supposed to come through me.
Yeah, I love that, and that's so true. I mean, you are a man's man, and it shows. Ever since I've met you, and every communication I've had with you has been on point to what you just shared about who you are. And as you were talking, I had a thought came to my mind about Deion Sanders says, "Don't let your insecurities."
That's right.
Oh, you know the rest of it, right? And I mean that's true to heart, because here's the difference with you and him is that you when you talk about serving from the heart, that's not lip service. I believe that, and I've seen that in things that you talked about and people following you. So man, I really appreciate you dropping that down. So we got 1 more minute. I'm gonna give you 2, but 1 more minute that you want to lead the folks with, Nate, that they can take away in a couple of sentences in terms of if you're down in the dumps on personal relationships or not sure how to connect with someone, hook us up, man.
Let me give you the most valuable thing I can give to you, and that's page 5 of my book called The Daily Habit Poem. It's called Daily Habits Done Daily Build Character. I say, I'm your constant companion. I'm your greatest helper or heaviest burden. I will push you onward or drag you down to failure. I'm completely at your command. Half of the things you do, you might as well turn over to me, and I will do them quickly and correctly. I'm easily managed. You must be firm with me. Show me exactly how you want something done, and I will do it automatically. I am the servant of great people and Allah's of all affairs as well. Those who are great, I have made great. Those who are failures, I have made failures. I'm not a machine, though. I work the precision of a machine plus the intelligence of a person. You may run me for profit or run me for ruin. It makes no difference to me. Take me, train me, be easy with me, and I will place the world at your feet. Be easy with me, and I will destroy you. Who am I? I am habit.
Wow. Beautiful. Because it's talking about daily habits that anybody can do. You know, I mean, that's so simple that anybody can do, man. That's beautiful. So tell us where we can get your book and anything you got going on, and we're going to have to let you get back to what you've been doing.
Well, my book, Life is Rich, How to Create Lasting Wealth, is a principle-centered, biblically based leadership program focused on personal growth and entrepreneurship. I cover leadership as the answer to cash flow danger. It happened to me, become an entrepreneur, choosing the right entity, raising capital, asset protection, protecting your financial privacy, reducing your taxes, retirement planning, residual income retirement planning, estate planning, and Life is Rich. You can get it at www.lifeisrichwithnatescott.com. Again, lifeisrichwithnatescott.com.
Wow. I encourage everybody to run out and get a hold of him. You know, check him out, take him on his word, put him to the test. You know, I've seen the man. I mean, and he really means what he says. So listen, don't wait, don't hesitate. Reach out to him, Nate Scott. Get the links, get the book, and I'll tell anybody that hears this when we run this show and you buy a book, let me know, and we'll buy a book that you can give to a friend. So please take us up on that. Anybody that buys a book and references this show, we will make sure that we buy another book and send it to whoever you want us to send it to. So Nate, listen, I really appreciate it. It was a beautiful time with you, my friend. And I'm going to ask you now why people will hear it. Love to have you back to talk about a piece of that book that can help people really get more intro to who you are from that perspective.
Absolutely. Be honored to be able to join you again. Love the work that you're doing, impact you're making, and man, continue Godspeed.
Yes, sir. Many blessings to you, my friend.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Nate.
Yes,
All right, little technical difficulties there, ladies and gentlemen. You guys know how I roll. You know, I'm doing well to sit here and share something with you today, and I'm grateful for that. But what a beautiful 30 minutes. A powerful man, a husband, a father, and most importantly, man of God. And so check him out. And I want to leave you with this because he talked about daily habits. Boy, that was. I've not heard it identified like that. But look at that habit as a person, right? And engage with that. So powerful. And talk about the mindset and the mental things. And at the beginning of the session, we talked about the stinkin thinking, right? And how that holds us back. But he gave us some tools in that last closing. So get that book. And then let us know that you've gotten it. And I told you before, if you get one, we'll make sure we get you one for your friends. So listen, share this with everybody you know. Go get a hold, follow up on Nate Scott. And remember this, we ask you to do is subscribe, share this, tag your friends when you hear it. Let us know if there's something else that we can do. I'm going to bring him back. This man is deep. Got big brain, baby. So be on the lookout for that. And before I leave, I want to just tell you, and Nate said it too, everything begins with a thought. So what are you going to think about tonight before you go to bed? What are you going to think about in the morning when you get up? What are you going to think about halfway through the day when you get up? I can tell you this, if you're not thinking about paying attention to that, it's going to be an automatic thing and it's going to be another day gone. And Nate said it's 1,440 minutes in the day. Are you going to be the person that only has 2 hours of it? Or are you going to live the whole day like he is and make that commitment that he made, standing there protecting us at 19 years old? that's your choice. So let me know. All right. Hey, listen, gotta go. Appreciate everybody. We'll see you on the next show. And remember, stop that stinking thinking and make a difference in your life.